Let's hear from Andrea Williams for more on her investment strategy. She helps manage about £600 million at Royal London Asset Management. Andrea, thank you so much for coming in. First of all, I just wanted to get an idea of how long you think this global market sell-off will continue. We're now into the fourth week of straight losses. What exactly are investors fearing?
I think the fearful is two things. There's the US. I mean, obviously after the Philly Fed number yesterday, people fear recession there. We have a feeling that that will muddle through. We're hoping the second half will recover post the effect of the Japanese earthquake. But I think the second fear is really what is going on in Europe with the euro crisis. And it's this lack of leadership, this political vacuum, this feeling that they're not doing enough to address the issue and the impact that's having on the banks that are really unsettling investors.
But so the volatility and the sell-off can continue for the coming months? Because we haven't had really any leadership in Europe for quite some time now.
Yes, I mean, I think the thing is that the ECB can keep buying the bonds, that's fine. The EFSF, the Stability Pact, is meant to kick in at the end of September as long as it is ratified. I feel that people just feel that that is not enough. But as long as the ECB is there supporting the market, that's fine. We don't have a lot of corporate results. Maybe if we had a bit more M&A activity and corporate numbers to reassure.
And so overall, what does it mean for your portfolio strategy? Are you staying put for the moment? The next couple of months will be still very volatile?
We have been trading a bit. We think there is value in certain things. I mean, we have been quite defensively positioned, but it's difficult to, you have to think about what is defensive. I mean, things like utilities and telecoms have proved not to be that defensive because the government has intervened in the utility sector and raised taxes in Italy, for example. But I mean, we own pharma stocks and food companies, but I don't think you can dismiss the other parts of the market. Yeah. You know, there is beginning to be value in some of the more cyclical stocks if you believe in global GDP growth of 3% and a bit, which we still do.
Yeah. So you're not expecting a double-dip recession at all?
No, we're not. No.
Andrea, talk to me a little bit about, so in terms of the defensive stocks, you're overweight on certain tobacco industries and also the household goods, for example, Henkel.
Yes.
How do you choose these companies?
Well, we're looking, part of the thing is I run an income fund, so we're looking for attractive balance sheets, we're looking for strong cash flow and therefore the ability to pay a growing dividend. So somebody like Nestle can do that, somebody like Henkel, which is the detergents and adhesives company, has good free cash flow yield, Swedish Match, which is the tobacco company we own, things like that.
But Henkel, for example, year to date down some 9.4%. Is there also a buying opportunity for some of these stocks? I mean, would you advise to investors, you know, if they go down by a certain point, this is a good time to get in?
I mean, the market, we feel the market is cheap. I mean, it's on a P of about 12 times with earnings growth of about 10%. I mean, obviously what you need to do is start stress testing that and saying, okay, where do I look for value? Let's assume, how did they trade last time round in previous recessions? Are they near to those levels? Has the company changed? What is the balance sheet structure like? Have they got a decent cash flow? Things like that. So you start doing those sort of screens.
And in telecoms, you like three companies, Deutsche Telekom, Telenor and TeliaSonera in Norway.
Yes. The reason we have those three is because they have emerging market exposure. The mature telcos in Europe, they're under a lot of pressure. But if you can get growth in somewhere like Bangladesh or Pakistan, areas like that, which is Telenor, which is a Norwegian company, has expanded aggressively overseas, then you can actually get some growth there. And they also have good dividend yield.
Now, in terms of the high cyclical sectors, you also like some engineering companies in Germany.
Yes.
Again, why cheap valuations and just sustainability?
Well, no, it's just the fact that if you have to have a balanced portfolio, you know, you can't sort of be, if you don't want to be too defensive, because if you believe there is global GDP growth, emerging markets are still growing. We feel that China has finished its rate increases, inflation has peaked, so that economy should be reasonable in the second half. So again, you have to have some exposure to that. So things like LVMH, the luxury goods company, Atlas Copco, the Swedish engineering company, some of the German engineering companies that have a big emerging market exposure, then that's why we own those stocks.
And you'd still stay away from financials because it's so uncertain.
Well, again, the balance, you know, the financials are 20% of the market. So to run the fund, you can't just, the type of fund I'm running, you can't just not own any. So what we've had to do is try and have low exposure to the Spanish banks, where, okay, they have had better access now to the funding markets because the yields have come down, but the fundamentals in Spain are still quite poor with the real estate problems. So we've tended to focus on the Scandinavian banks, which until yesterday had actually done relatively well, but even they were in the sell-off sell-off yesterday, unfortunately, but they have reasonable loan growth and have had good liquidity and have strong Tier 1 ratios.
Andrew, in 20 seconds, we talk now about the UK being a haven, a refuge.
Yes.
It's surprising, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I suppose we do have a currency that can devalue, and it has been. Yeah, and also the FTSE is not that representative of the UK economy. It has mining exposure, obviously, and oil stocks. So I suppose the banks are exposed equally, but no, there is some sort of haven there, I guess, yes.
All right, Andrea, thank you so much. Andrea Williams there.